Well, hello, you bearded bastards, and welcome back once again to Idrath Kor I Roll Sazir. Northbridge. Right at the moment, it is the first of Moonstone 114, and we're just now finishing up wiping away another elven siege. Quite a large elven siege, too. Seems those bastards have some other tricks up their sleeves, you may have noticed. It looks like instead of taking the aerial route this time, they went with a land-based assault, which didn't really turn out so well for them, as evidenced by the heaps of carcasses. As for their new beasties that we saw, they came riding on some elephants that we've seen before, but this time they also had a couple of horses, which I found kind of strange. Maybe they're scouts or something. But besides that, they also had some giant cougars, which seemed terrifying, but they really weren't so much worse than just an elephant, I guess. Again, I gestured towards the heaps. And we also saw some giant eyes in the mix too. Creepy bastards. Maybe they were trying to spook us a bit with that whole thing, trying to figure out what purpose a giant eye would serve as a war mount. Maybe they climb up into trees or something, could be kind of used as like spies, I don't know. Again, didn't really seem to work out so well in whatever fashion they were intended for. I'll gesture once again towards the heaps. Hey, and how about that ballista attack right at the beginning there? Fired by Avaz, the honor-wounded siege dwarf. He's been training this whole time using that ballista up on the roof, remember? And I'd have to say that he's got the skill down. That much is certain. You've never seen such a straight-flying ballista arrow ever. Went straight down the center of the bridge, and it killed quite a few of those bastards too, including that one elf at the end who was just completely blasted apart. That was pretty cool. That's what you get, I'm sorry. I've said it before, I'll say it again, those elves could just stay home and leave us here. We're surrounded by 1,000,000 acres of forest. I don't know what's so important about this one small tract. I don't know. It's hard to figure out their motives sometimes. But at least we can rest well in the knowledge that they can't really do too much to us. We didn't lose a single dwarf in this siege, yet again. And at this point I could say I'm getting dangerously optimistic that we can face whatever those elves throw at us. We'll keep on our toes. Confidence can be a dangerous thing. That much I'll say for sure. Let's get these carcasses sorted out, dwarves. We have our work cut out for us. Now, I know I was just talking about our great success during that siege just there, having lost no dwarves after all. Very cool, but we did have some wounds, of course, bound to happen. A couple serious ones at that, which is a problem, if you'll allow me to direct your gaze down here towards our mine hospital, which we were talking about recently, remember? It had been getting a bit wet down here, and that water level has deepened significantly to the point where we can no longer access anything down on this level at all. It's completely inaccessible. The water level is now 7 of 7, which really caught us off guard. We've been keeping eyes down here for a while, and the water has not gotten deeper at all. It's just kind of been a joke. Oh, that bottom level, oh, it's kind of wet down there. But all of a sudden, it just kind of shloop, completely underwater now. Worse still, if we move up a level, the water is now filling up this living chamber of the mines, which is horrendous. We have a bunch of dwarves living on this level, and they're no longer going to have bedrooms shortly. I mean, if the water levels continued to rise, I didn't think that lower level would fill up like it did, and I suppose I'd be a great fool to not think this one would fill up either. So as a preemptive measure, we've gotten rid of a lot of beds on this level already, and we're going to start moving dwarves out of here and put them somewhere else. But yes, once again regarding our hospital, we do have a place for that. Remember, we were constructing this new location up here, and it's just about where it needs to be, actually. Got some of those former bedroom beds going in place right here, and you can see some chests here already stocked with bandages. Just got a couple more windows to put in place, but then we should be good to go. Oh, and of course, if you look up, it's nicely roofed in now with that bauxite stone. Really liking how that looks, by the way. We're gonna have to do the entire fortress like this, of course. A side project, really. But yes, if we head down and look underneath where the hospital is, we can see these cisterns we're planning up. And the hope is that we can get these things filled up with water, enough water to supply the hospital with clean water, and also maybe divert some over towards the meeting hall, so that in case of emergencies, we can also draw water from them to use for hydration needs. I think it's gonna work out, but it is being a tedious pain in the ass. We'll just have to keep to it. I'm sure we'll get it before long. Now, as for where we're going to house our dwarves, that is a different matter. Up on the bridge, obviously, right? There is quite a bit of space up here. Probably enough to house all those dwarves who are losing bedrooms down in the mines. On that one level, at least. And I think we have to speed up on this process. I know I've said that in the past, and we did get that entire west wing filled up already. But if we keep going at that same pace, it's going to take us forever to fill up this eastern wing. So as you can see, we have some carpenter workshops going up here. And after those are built, we're going to make a bunch more beds and start just cramming dwarves in these rooms left and right. Not as fancy as that first wing, quite yet. but it'll get the job done. That being said, it's still not going to be enough space for all of our dwarves at all, and so we're going to need places to put new bedrooms. Now, we're probably going to put some more at the end of these wings, but we don't want to keep going out too far. That's going to be one heck of a long walk if a dwarf has to go all the way from the end of a wing back to the fortress, you know? And so while we still have the sea frozen, we're going to go into our guild tower and make some chambers here. Just one larger bedroom for each level, as you can see. It's kind of a mess right now just because we're dealing with the frozen sea and whatnot, but we should have it all cleaned up by the time it thaws. Yeah, we're going to put one nice bedroom on each level for kind of like a guild master's quarters, you know? That would be appropriate, I think. As for what guild we're going to put on each level, we still haven't really decided that, but quite a few could be housed on these levels. I'm thinking maybe we'll reserve the top levels for the bigger guilds, the ones that are already established in the fortress, and then maybe the lower levels we can kind of like split up for 2 smaller guilds each. I think that'd give us enough space to house all of the guilds in the fortress. Some of the smaller guilds only have 1 or 2 members, so they don't need a big fancy place. A small guild would do fine. What I do know is that on this particular level right here, you can see this sandy tunnel leading off to the west. This is below sea level, so it won't flood, especially if we redo the walls with stone. But if we head down that tunnel, you can see it leads to the staircase right here, and if we go up, it leads to the surface, and you can see this little walled-in area right here. And our intention with this area is to make a little like a farming area, you know, for fields and stuff. It's not on the sea, so we should be able to grow things here fine, I'm thinking. And if we keep it nice and walled in, put a roof on it maybe, then it'll be safe, intruders won't be able to get in. That would be great. And maybe even down the line we can grow some more trees in here so we can gather fruit and stuff that falls in the autumn. We already do have a pear tree in there, which is great. Yeah, very excited about that. This area right here is going to connect up to the Farmers Guild level in the tower. That'd be a great idea, I think, right? Gonna head back inside the fortress now, because we just received word there's a new artifact in the fort, and it's one I was pretty excited about. It was created by Lytast one of our armorers. Its name is Thadsalab, a bulging sterling silver breastplate, and she offered it to the wealthy order. Its name translates to the crowded roof, and it's worth a rather meager 8,500. I find that fairly shocking. This is a bulging sterling silver breastplate. All craft workmanship is of the highest quality. It is encrusted with rectangular tiger eye cabochons and oval chert cabochons, and encircled with bands of rectangular bituminous coal cabochons and sheep bone. This object is adorned with hanging rings of dendritic agate and menaces with spikes of sterling silver. On the item is an image of Mim Scribefade, the dingo woman in pig bone. Mim is dead. This image relates to the passing of the dingo woman Mim in the inky waters in the late spring of 104. That's 4 years before we founded the fortress here. And the inky waters is the ocean that's right next to us. I don't know why this would be on the artifact. It's a strange image. Regardless, there's also an image of Blenched Rhythm, the Misty Fork, the apricot wood chest, and fungi wood. That's that chest we made a couple years ago, shaped like a kiwi man. Very interesting, and noble of one of our dwarves to commemorate another artifact on their own artifact, I feel. Kind of adds power to the original artifact in a way. Yes, this is a wonderful piece indeed. So wonderful, in fact, that I think we should do something with it that we have not yet done before. I think we should award it to our king, King Athel. How does that sound? And here you are, your highness. Wear it well. And thank you very much for all of your support. This is a mighty and powerful fortress indeed. A beacon to all the realm. And you, sir, a beacon to all dwarven kind. And now we have a little matter of... Oh dear. Sounds like we have some activity down below ground once again. And if I had my guess, it'd be another forgotten beast. Let's have a gander. The forgotten beast Akanzaspu has come. A gigantic blob composed of vomit. It has a long, curly tail, and it squirms and fidgets. Beware, it's deadly dust. Or rather, mist, I suppose. Looks to be rather a damp beast. Really quite disgusting. Still, that dust is no joke. That being said, we are in luck once again, it appears, as this beast, like those previous ones, has appeared over here, on that southwestern little peninsula down in the caves. The one with the frogs. Here's hoping they protect us again. And yes, it looks like those frogs were successful, for the time being anyways. Akan has fallen, or rather has been rendered inert, by the frogs, who I'm also 100% certain have been caught in those clouds of deadly mist, which does not bode well for those amphibious bastards. We could see at least one of them fell during the combat, but many more are soon to join. Possibly. Depends how deadly that dust was, I suppose. Anywho, thank you once again, you frogs. Another beast is successfully dealt with. You know, I'm actually pretty happy these guys are down here entertaining each other, the frogs and the beasts. Really gives us a lot of time to focus on our projects. It's pretty nice. Anywho, back to it, I suppose. Back up here on the surface, right now it is the 10th of obsidian, and you can see we've done a little digging around this farm plot area up here. It is the 11th now, and there we have it. In a fashion, at least. The sea has thawed out, and the area that we dug out around this farm plot area is now filled with sea water. For the most part, there are some chunks of ice apparently keeping the water at bay, but that'll melt before long, I'm thinking. Can't wait to put this place to use. It's gonna work out pretty well for us, I think. In addition to that, looking over at our guild master quarters, they are all completed pretty much. I still gotta do some engraving, of course, and you know, I'd like to put some windows in too. I think that'd be pretty cool looking out at the sea. I was gonna try to do that this winter, but we kind of ran out of time. Didn't really want to be too risky about it, you know? But yeah, those are looking good. Still getting some beds made over here, but we do have a lot of them in place now, so the dwarves are now living up on the bridge, trying to keep these guys as happy as possible. Those are all fun projects and all, but the thing we're most excited for these days is our waterworks, which are pretty much all set. Right now we're looking at the bottom level of it, and you can see our tunnel leading down to the caverns. On either side of it is a cistern. To the north of those are screw pumps. Those will be used to draw seawater up to this level right here, and take an opportunity to point out these nice bauxite roofs on top of the cisterns. Oh, and also these drains over here. This will allow extra water to flow out safely, no problem whatsoever. Moving up again, here you can see the entrance to wells. That's what these two spaces are right here. And then over here on top of the bauxite roofs, these are entrances down to the cistern underneath the hospital. But the water is not going to stop here. It's going to get drawn up farther, past the meeting hall and the hospital, and up above to this level right here, which we are just finishing up right now. And once that water gets up to this level right here, it's going to flow down this staircase right over here, down to this level, which is going to be safely barred away. Don't want dwarves getting swept away in the water. But that mist should flow out into the meeting hall, making the dwarves nice and happy. But the water should continue down this staircase, down here, past this level, and then down to the cistern. And then after the cistern gets filled up, it should flow out safely out through these grates right here. And on top of that, we'll also have a nice permanent source of fresh water for the dwarves. Excellent for emergencies and hospital usage. Now looking back up to the roof, we have these windmills, and we are just waiting for those to get put in place now. Gonna take a second longer, I think. We'll just give them a moment here. Okay, and here we go. Or not. Oh yeah, go figure. You think I would have looked at how much power this thing required before, you know, getting it all set up and stuff? Stupid ass. Okay. So, it looks like this whole contraption needs a little bit more juice. Alright, I guess we'll do it kind of like this right here. Had to scrap up that other windmill, and we're gonna instead hook up 2 windmills to each of these pump stacks. That should be more than enough, I'm thinking. Just got a little gear assembly in place, little wooden platforms for them to sit on, and that should do the trick. Okay? Okay, let's do this. Just gotta get this one last little piece of lumber in place right here. And here we go. Okay, there it goes. Both those windmills are a-turning, that gear assembly is spinning, which means it should be going, and yes, if we look down here to the bottom of the cistern, it's filling right up with water, quickly too. Wonderful. Excellent. Okay, want to take that windmill apart? Thank you very much. There we go. Yes, yes, just like that. Thank you. Okay, so, got a bit of a wet meeting hall situation here. Actually terrible. So yeah, that's gonna take a little bit to get cleaned up. But what you gonna do, huh? Grab a mop and a bucket, dwarves. We've got some cleaning to do. And back to the drawing board on the whole waterwork situation. Anywho, while we tend to that in the background, we do have some other things to check in on, like over here in that tower that leads down to the caverns. You know what we needed in our fortress? A prison. Not that we like imprisoning our dwarves at all, but there's been a lot of chaos lately that I haven't been properly noting. A lot of tantrums, but you know, most of the dwarves who are currently in the prison are in here for violation of production order. You know, our king gets a bit uppity if we try to trade away his rings or his gauntlets. That's another item he's a big fan of. And so as soon as we had these cells done, a lot of dwarves were thrown in here. They're being tended to, though. We actually have a new captain of the guard. It's Kruggsmash. He's been the one going around and rounding up criminals. As you can see, it's not exactly a well-appointed area. It's just kind of makeshift for the time being. We're not going to make it too fancy in these cells. But the dwarves who are kept in here do have our, iron chains and a nice little stool to sit on. If they need to sleep, they can sleep on the floor. It's not meant to be the nicest accommodation. And hopefully after this first round of criminals is dealt with, then we won't have to use these facilities again for a bit. I'm thinking this setup should be a nice deterrent. Looks like we just got it done in time for this skewer brother over here, throwing a tantrum over here in the stairwell, looking to start a fight with someone, it seems. Oh, there he goes. Yeah, he just punched a dwarf a couple times. They don't appear to be seriously injured, but having a look up here at Kruggsmash's quarters, it looks like he's currently being inundated with crime reports. While these dwarves rushing into his chambers, he's trying to sleep right now. But they are reporting the crimes nonetheless. Yeah, it'll be nice to put a temporary stop to this sort of stuff. Man, dwarves are trying to work. We have this jerk going around punching them. Very dangerous. But here comes Captain Kruggsmash, pulling the skewer brother away to his new temporary home. My friend, I'm sorry we have to do this, but really, it's a well-appointed fortress. You're lucky to be here, and we don't want you hurting dwarves. Maybe take some time to think, huh? Perhaps reflect on the wealth that has been bestowed upon you by Idrith. You're very fortunate. Anyways, we'll see you around there, skewer brother. Back here on the bridge, we got this entire row here of rooms completed. Try and give dwarves furniture made out of the materials that they like. And if we don't have the appropriate materials, we're just giving them rather high quality stuff. Still, everyone has a custom statue or other piece of furniture that they enjoy. And yeah, looking good on this row. 6 more rooms down. And we're working on furniture for the stuff below that too. It should be done shortly, actually. Looking over here to our meeting hall, through much grueling and tediosity, we have gotten rid of all that mud that was coating the floors. Luckily, we didn't lose any dwarves during that whole flooding situation there, because I'm realizing now they could have easily gotten pushed by that water down our open wells to the south here. But yes, no problems whatsoever. Still have a couple other little touches to put in place before we get those mills up on the roof going, but yeah, we'll give it a second. And in the meantime, there is something over here I'd like to show off. Right out this way here, off the western edge of the bridge, away from the fortress. Just over here on the beach where you can see we have all our soldiers just kind of grouped up. Out here in the early summer sun, got that mist spraying. Oh, isn't that lovely? Now they're getting ready for something. And we can follow Vukar the miner to see what is up. You can see she's going down this stairway over here, this sandy stairway that leads down to stone in a watery tunnel. Ooh. And you'll note that at the end of this tunnel is a cavern, just on the other side of this wall. That is the cavern where those forgotten beasts and the frogmen have been popping up. We're curious, damn it. It's high time we see what's out there for ourselves. Vukar, you better get your ass moving when this wall falls away. Good luck. Oh, that's a lot more amphibian people than we've ever seen before. Oh, that cavern was loaded. What the hell? Okay. Gonna have to make sure nobody comes down here. And we're gonna have to be double certain those soldiers are prepared. Okay, what we're gonna do is pull our warriors back a bit. I didn't realize there'd be quite that many frogs down there. There's an awful lot. Gotta be hundreds of them, I'm thinking. And they seem badly disorganized, which is great. I think if we pull our warriors back a little bit, then the frogs will just kind of wander in one by one, and we can take them out easy. I don't want any of our dwarves getting stuck in the middle of this frog mob. That would be deadly. We'll put our warriors on the bridge. Wait for those frogs to come to us. Well, mostly anyways. We had a straggler over here. One down. And, what the hell? Where'd they go? Terrifying. Looking down into the water here, and we can see a great deal of them down here just lurking in this water. That's an odd tactic for them. I can understand why they wouldn't go up on the surface. I mean, they've never seen sunlight before, I assume. Kind of a spooky new environment for these bastards, but I don't know if it's a good idea to go down there when, they're kind of creeping down in the water. First off, there are an awful lot of frog people. Secondly, that water is going to make things a lot more hazardous for the dwarves. I'm reevaluating. Not sure if it'd be a stellar idea to head out now. Gotta do something though, right? Okay, so what I've decided we're going to do is, through a rather complicated process, dig out some rock plugs that we're going to drop through the ceiling and into these watery tunnels down here. This will block off the water flow. Then we're going to use this tunnel over here to build a screw pump that we're then going to use to pump all the water out of that frog cavern and into a different section of cavern entirely. I'm hoping that by doing this, it'll make it a lot safer to face these frogs. Maybe we can even head out and take them head on. There's nothing we can do while this water is here, though. That's the thing. And, looks like our miners are being interrupted. We just got ambushed by another group of frogs here that moved into the area. They seem to be charging straight up. Well, they were anyways. Yeah, very interesting. They chased off the miners and now they're heading underwater, just like those previous frogs. Just kind of clustering up down there. It looks like they're learning. To face the dwarven meat grinder means certain death, to be sure. Yeah, we'll dislodge them. Eventually. But for now, I think we should have another look up here in our meeting hall, where our waterworks should be done now. Should be. Hoping we don't run into any more trouble, but, well, as you can see here, we have plenty of drains now, both underneath where the water is going to fall down and next to it as well. So any overflow should just go down the other section of grates, and then down here where we set up another metal grate where it should just kind of, go out into the sea. And that's in addition to the previous grate here that's below that one. So yeah, there's plenty of space for that water to get out, I'm thinking. Shouldn't be a problem anymore. So, well, let's kick this thing off. See how it does. Just have to once again put this windmill together. Just a moment. There we go, it's up and pumping. And we have a little bit of spillage. Way too much spillage. God damn it. Okay, take it apart again, please. Dear God, hurry. Okay, there we go. Thank you. And once again, we have a pretty wet meeting hall situation over here. Not really the best at all, seeing as how we just got it, pretty cleaned up. Oh man, back to the drawing board once more, I guess. What a pain in the butt. We'll get it though. We're gonna get this. We've got too much infrastructure in place to even consider scrapping this project at this point. We're gonna make it work. Grab some mops, dwarves. Got some cleaning to do once more. Now back over here outside the fortress, near our project tunnels, the watery frog tunnels there, we can see one of those bastards has crept up and is now walking around. This has been happening from time to time. I know most of those bastards are down underwater down there, but they seem to also enjoy kind of creeping up and causing trouble too, as we had seen earlier. Luckily though, they haven't been that much trouble for our dwarves. Our soldiers are always quick to come running out and deal with them if there is a problem. And the miners are pretty handy with their picks. Though that being said, we've run into a little issue over here, it seems. The humans from the Empire of Dales have come to trade and are just now leaving. We did a good trade with them, but that's besides the point. It looks like a small contingent of them, a trader, an elephant, and a caravan guard, are heading out this way through the tunnels. Oh man, those humans are careless, aren't they? I don't know why they'd be heading out this way. It seems awfully foolish, but here they are, heading out through the caverns, just hoping that the frogs don't come running up, and I'm sure they are, though maybe these humans are fine. I again am not too sure why they'd head off this way. Gotta hand it to those humans. They are a brave, if maybe occasionally foolish sort, but I'll be damned if they're not resourceful. Kudos to them for blazing new paths. I wish I could say us dwarves be courageous enough to go delving out into the caverns like that, but, well, there is a thin line between bravery and stupidity, isn't there? Still, I wish them the best. I don't know what their goal is, but I'm sure we'll hear all about it next year. Good luck, humans. Be wary of the frogs. Those amphibious bastards are certainly getting more active out there. We've spent so long not thinking about them. It's odd to actually fear the frogs once again. Those traps do work wonders, now don't they? Most of the time, that is. Just getting attacked right now, and I'm really hoping these traps can hold back this particular swarm. We'll just give them a moment. Looking back down underground in our watery tunnel, it looks like some frogs are making their way up. They've emerged from the water and are trying to head up towards our fortress, I guess, or maybe harass our miners. But it's not going to work out too well for them, I think. You see, our soldiers are now stationed in this tunnel. Yes, they've run all the way out here and are now standing guard, just to make sure there's no more trouble out here, in our project tunnel at least. This should quell any issues those frogs might cause. Which is nice, because there are a great many issues down here with this damn tunnel. Water everywhere. My goodness, the water sure has been vexing lately. Just having a quick look here, you can see these frogs down below in the water, right? Then up above them, we have our, the project tunnel over here, that first tunnel that we used. And then over here on the side, we have You know what? I'm not going to even bother explaining what's going on here because it's like tunnels on top of tunnels. Half of them are completely filled with water. It's just been a gigantic pain in the butt. We've been digging out little drains. Got to make sure we're digging everything out in the right way. Got to make sure things don't get flooded. Got to build little bridges here and there. It is crazy. This whole tunnel is right beneath the sea, and so those aquifers are just letting us have it. It's terrible, but we're getting through it. In a fashion, at least. Oh, hell, those bastard frogs. It looks like a couple of them have gotten past our serrated blade traps, chasing some civilians now. Not excellent. Luckily, the frogs are pretty wounded, though, it seems. Yeah, they've chased 2 civilians over to this side of the cavern, and our dwarves are fighting like hell. The soldiers are coming, but they're still a ways off. Over at the other tunnel, you know? We have Lore the Gelder, wife of Kruggs, beating the hell out of her frog. And then we have Fath, the beekeeper, who looks to be taking a more cowardly approach. Couldn't blame her. Get back to the fort, Fath. The soldiers are coming, following that frog that's chasing Fath. Oh, but here comes Lore. And there goes Lore. Bizarre. Oh, it seems she's climbed up onto the ceiling, making use of the old Sarvesh method like back in the day, clinging to the ceiling. I'm not too sure why. Well, Fath is still running. Go, Fath. Maybe the other dwarven civilians can help. Here she goes, and well, up she goes too. Looks like she's clinging to the ceiling as well, strangely enough. And other dwarves are moving in now. A bunch of non-combatants. Hey, would you look at that? Someone else climbed up onto the ceiling and jumped down on the frog. Good job, dwarves. Man, it is handy that these frogs are so small. It probably also helps that he was shredded up by those traps, too. Those rat bastards. Was this a diversionary tactic, do you think? Perhaps the frogs in the southern caverns told these ones that the soldiers were down that way. Now is their time to strike. Seems to make sense, right? Their tactics are changing. We have to stay wary, dwarves. Idrath save us from the frogs. And speaking of Idrath's blessings, we could really use some over here in our meeting hall, because we're just about to kick off another round of our waterworks here. Hoping they work this time, but I suppose we'll see. As you can see, there's more grates on the floor now, and beneath them there is plenty of drainage. 3 times as much as there was. Will it be enough? I don't know. But again, with Idrath's help, maybe this will be the one that does it. And so, yes, once again with feeling, dwarves. Need someone up here to assemble this windmill once again. Please, Idrath, please, Idrath, please. We've done so much in your honor. Can you just give us this? It's not a big ask. Okay, it's up. And come on, damn it. Well, I suppose that's another attempt down. It's a learning process, and once again, I am committed to it. We're gonna get this done. And I don't care how many times you have to layer new stones over the floor to get it clean. Sort of unorthodox, but it gets the job done easy enough. You know, really, I did feel pretty positive about that one, too. The drains seem to hold up a little bit longer than those last 2 attempts, but it's still not enough. We'll come up with something, though. Well, having one more glance down here to the tunnels, it looks like the amphibians are on the attack once again. Those rat bastards. You know, we really would take more pity on them if this was like their home or something. We just don't want to be attacked and killed. Though the more we go on with this project, the worse I feel for the frogs. They obviously have no qualms about running into their death. They're quite good at it. Ethics and waterworks. The 2 tricks we have to deal with here in Northbridge. We'll get it all sorted out one day, but that day won't be today. My dwarves, we just have to keep going forward. We're going to get where we want to be. One day, by Idrath's grace, all the wealth of life will be ours. And with that, we're going to switch to talking about some behind-the-scenes things. Now, I'm going to tell you what, last episode I was telling you about how much easier my schedule has been, and it has been easier. It's been a lot better. No complaints whatsoever. It's just like with this episode specifically, I'm remembering some of the troubles that come with recording a late-stage fortress like Northbridge here. The game slows down a lot. A real lot. And, you know, I really gotta say, I think that's one of Dwarf Fortress's biggest weaknesses. Like, you know, it's unavoidable. There's a lot going on. The game's gotta take a lot of calculations. I understand that. It's just that the game goes so fast at the beginning. You know, it's like the speed of light sometimes. Dwarves are just like flickering around all over the place, getting stuff done, no problem. But then these later stage fortresses, like, they just move so slow, especially if you have a fort with a larger layout like Northbridge here. To get from one end of the fort to the other, man, it takes forever. And it compounds things when you're doing complicated stuff. You know, like we have our constructions and the waterworks and cleaning the damn floor and, well, those damn stone plugs below. Plus the whole time I'm trying to like micromanage my dwarves, make sure they're staying out of danger, trying to forbid certain items so dwarves don't go certain places. It is a hassle sometimes. And the challenge with recording that is like, so there's certain things that I record that like I could classify differently. Like there is stuff in Northbridge right now that I have not shown you. We actually had an artifact made this episode that I did not show off. Because like, I mean, I could, but we've seen a lot of artifacts at this point, you know what to expect. It wasn't too thrilling, just a scepter. That's something I would classify as like filler material, you know? That scepter itself isn't going to serve any big purpose, you know, you just kind of see it, and that's that. Same as like, we actually had another Forgotten Beast pop up, but it's in a place that's kind of walled away. It's not going to access our fortress, and when you get down to it, it really wasn't that interesting to look at or anything. So, for the time being, something like that is inconsequential to the fortress. It would just end up being filler, you know? I would much rather show off things that progress the fortress in some meaningful way, like the waterworks down underground, or these waterworks up here. Like, even if it's a total failure, it's still like something that took time, you know? Hell, I could probably put together an entire episode and not progress any time at all. But if I did that, then the fortress itself isn't going to progress, you know? It's a balancing act. I think next fortress I have, I'm going to keep it pretty small, kind of like I did with Northbridge, the last fortress I did, just so we can keep the game speed up and get a little bit more personal with the dwarves. That's always fun, you know? But we'll see what happens. All it's going to matter is what mood I'm in when we sit down to actually record. Hey, you know what I was shocked to see this episode is the dungeon that I put in place. It seems to really, somehow, in this fortress anyways, be leveling out the moods a little bit. I don't know if this was the case, but I saw some dwarves, ones who weren't throwing tantrums already, who got thrown in prison, right? And I got a thought that was like, what was it? Something about them feeling bad that they were in prison or something, but like, it was blue in color, which is generally a pretty okay thought, I think. So I don't know if that like helped balance out some of the dwarves who weren't like already super crabby or something. It's just like, I don't know. The dwarves who were throwing tantrums, the ones that were more inclined to be angry, it didn't help them at all. It just made them more mad, apparently. But I kept them out of harm's way for a while, so that's definitely helpful. The fortress just seems a lot calmer in general after I got those prisons in place, for some reason. Not too sure why, exactly. But certainly not complaining on that front. Goodness. You know, I always feel like the prisons in Dwarf Fortress, like, I feel like it takes me a while to actually implement them whenever I put them in my fortress. Like, it seems like a late stage thing for me, typically. And it's due partially to the fact that they seem kind of insidious to me, in a way. Like, if a dwarf is throwing a tantrum and actually, like, at risk of murdering other dwarves because they're just getting in fights all the time, then okay, throw them in prison, sure. But like, if you're violating production orders, like your damn king wants you to make a gauntlet or something for some reason, and you don't, and then that dwarf's got to get thrown in prison. Doesn't that seem a little nasty? Like, I know the king wants a gauntlet made, but there's no reason for it. They'll usually want like from 1 to 3 gauntlets made out of any material. They don't care. And then once it's fulfilled, it's almost like a show of power on the noble's part. I don't know, it always kind of rubs me the wrong way, I guess. I tend to not see the nobles in Dwarf Fortress very positively because of that. But that's just me. Okay, we're getting down there with the time. Something I've been meaning to mention, though, for several episodes now at the end, is that, well, I did a series a while ago, Scorch Fountain, you may have seen it. And in there, one of the prominent dwarves, Moldath, was a necromancer, and he did not have a beard. I decided this because when looking at his description, it said nothing about a beard or a mustache, while every single other dwarf in the fortress would say something. If they had an unremarkable mustache or beard, it would say combed. Otherwise, it would say braided or double braided or something like that, you know? I bring this up now because in this particular fortress right here, Northbridge, I'm seeing a lot of dwarves whose description says nothing at all about a mustache or beard, and yet their little sprite there does clearly have a beard and a mustache. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that was always the case. I find it strange that there are so many dwarves in this particular fortress that have no mention at all of their beard or mustache in their description. I guess I don't know what causes that exactly. As far as I know, dwarves as a creature, they grow hair. They begin growing hair from birth, both on their head and their chins. Males anyways. And it grows like a slight bit every day, I think up to a maximum. So unless a dwarf is actively like cutting their hair or something, like I don't think it could actually be clean shaven unless it states it as such, you know? And yes, if you're confused, a dwarf's whisker growth is actually tracked in the game somehow, which is pretty fascinating. Anyways, I've rambled on an awful lot here, so I should probably let you go. My bearded bastards, thank you for watching. I appreciate it a lot, and I hope you had a lot of fun. And I certainly hope to see you next time here in Idrath Core I roll Sazir, Northbridge, and until then, you bearded bastards.